For decades, the world believed one thing without question: Arnold Schwarzenegger does not break. He was the man who conquered muscle itself. The man who bent gravity in the gym, dominated cinema screens, and later ruled politics with the same iron certainty. His image was carved into global consciousness as something beyond human, a symbol of control, discipline, and raw willpower. But at 78, the truth is finally unavoidable. The tragedy of Arnold Schwarzenegger is not loud. It does not explode in scandal or end in disgrace. It unfolds slowly, painfully in silence. And that is what makes it so heartbreaking. The illusion of invincibility. Arnold's story has always been told as a victory arc. A poor boy from Austria, a dream of America, a body no one thought possible, a life no one thought reachable. From the moment he stepped onto the bodybuilding stage, Arnold learned a dangerous lesson early. The world rewards excess when it looks like strength. More reps, more weight, more size, more ambition. And it worked spectacularly. 7 Mr. Olympia titles. Hollywood superstardom. A franchise that turned him into a machine rather than a man. And eventually, political power. But hidden beneath that unstoppable ascent was a truth Arnold himself would only admit decades later. He was never taught how to stop. When the body becomes the battlefield, Arnold did not just train his body, he extracted value from it. Every pound of muscle came at a cost. Every competition demanded another sacrifice. Every film required him to push past pain that would have sidelined ordinary men. And the bill eventually came due. Multiple open-heart surgeries, artificial heart valves, doctors quietly warning him to slow down, warnings he admitted he ignored for years. This is the cruel paradox of physical legends. Their identity is inseparable from the very thing that will betray them first. For Arnold, strength was not just an attribute. It was his language, his currency, his sense of control. So when his body began to weaken, when recovery took longer, when movement became cautious instead of explosive, it wasn't just aging. It was a psychological loss. Because no one ever prepared him for a world where discipline could not defeat biology. Fame that leaves no room to fail. Hollywood celebrated Arnold as something mythic. The Terminator, the indestructible force, the man who does not feel pain. That image followed him everywhere. In HLW terms, this is where the damage deepens. When the persona becomes a prison, Arnold could never publicly collapse. He could never admit fear. He could never be ordinary, even as his heart required surgical intervention, even as his body carried scars the cameras never showed. The expectation remained the same. Stand tall, smile, inspire. And so he did, even when the cost was internal. The family cost? No muscle could protect. While the world watched the legend, another tragedy was quietly unfolding at home. Arnold's marriage to Maria Shriver represented the ultimate American fairy tale. Power, grace, and legacy united. Until it wasn't. An affair. A child kept secret for years. A revelation that shattered trust beyond repair. Arnold would later describe this not as a mistake, but as a permanent wound. Because for the first time in his life, he faced a failure he could not outlift, outwork, or outdiscipline. This was not a film role he could reboot, not a body part he could rehabilitate. It was time, it was trust, it was family, and once lost, no amount of strength could bring it back. The loneliest phase of power. There is a specific kind of loneliness reserved for men who reach the top 2 completely. When you're climbing, people surround you. When you are winning, people applaud you. But when the climb is over and the winds slow, silence arrives. At 78, Arnold is respected, admired, even loved. But he is no longer needed. And for someone whose entire identity was built around usefulness, dominance, and forward motion, that realization cuts deeper than any physical injury. He still wakes up early, still trains, not to grow, but to maintain, still speaks to audiences, not as the future, but as memory. He has become something he never trained for, a living monument. The real tragedy no one talks about. Arnold Schwarzenegger did everything right, according to the rules of ambition. He dreamed big, worked harder than anyone else, never accepted limits. And yet, the final lesson of his life is the one success stories never include. You can conquer the world and still lose parts of yourself along the way. His tragedy is not poverty, not obscurity, not regret over unfulfilled dreams. It is the realization that even legends must eventually let go of the version of themselves that made them legendary. And for a man who built his entire life on becoming more, learning how to become less, gracefully, may be the hardest challenge of all. And yet, for someone like Arnold Schwarzenegger, stopping was never part of the design. When your entire life is built on forward momentum, stillness feels like failure. Arnold has spoken openly about discipline, routine, and purpose, waking up early, training daily, structuring every hour. But what he rarely says out loud is why he clings to those routines so fiercely now. It is not to become stronger. It is not to win again. It is to delay the moment when he has to fully confront who he is without the machine. Because beneath the public optimism and motivational tone, there exists a quieter reality, the gradual shrinking of the world around him. Fewer roles written for men like him. Fewer rooms where his presence shifts the temperature. Fewer moments where he is the future instead of the past. This is the phase no biopic glorifies. The phase where applause turns into polite respect. Where invitations become commemorations. Where interviews stop asking, "What's next?" and start asking, "How do you want to be remembered?" For most people, this transition is gentle. For Arnold, it is existential. His identity was never abstract. It was physical, visible, undeniable. He did not just believe in strength, he embodied it. So as the years accumulate and the mirror reflects something slower, stiffer, more fragile, the conflict is not vanity. It is grief. Grief for a body that once obeyed without hesitation. Grief for a presence that once filled every room effortlessly. Grief for a version of himself that the world still expects, but time no longer allows. And here lies the most painful contradiction of his life. Arnold Schwarzenegger succeeded so completely that there is no higher version of himself to grow into. There is only maintenance, preservation, letting go. This is why aging hits legends harder than ordinary men. Ordinary men are allowed to fade. Legends are expected to remain intact. Even now, when Arnold speaks about health, he frames it as responsibility, not vulnerability. He jokes about surgeries. He reassures fans. He minimizes fear. But those close to him know the truth. Every procedure, every recovery period, every medical warning is a reminder that the body he once mastered now operates on borrowed time. And that awareness changes everything. Not overnight, but slowly, insidiously. Moments that once felt infinite now feel counted. Projects are chosen more carefully. Relationships carry more weight, more regret, more reflection. Arnold has admitted that if he could change one thing, it would not be a movie role or a political decision. It would be his family choices. That confession alone reveals how far his priorities have shifted. Because when the illusion of invincibility collapses, what remains is not ambition. It is reckoning. At 78, Arnold is no longer racing toward the next conquest. He is measuring distance behind him. And that distance is vast. He sees the boy who left Austria with nothing but certainty. The man who turned obsession into empire. The icon who became larger than any single life could contain. And somewhere along that path, he also sees what was lost in the process. Simplicity, presence, the ability to fail privately. The tragedy is not that he is aging. Aging is universal. The tragedy is that his entire life trained him to believe that limits were optional. And now, for the first time, limits are non-negotiable. This is why his story resonates so deeply now. Not because he fell, but because he didn't. He climbed higher than almost anyone in modern history. only to discover that the summit is a lonely place when the descent begins. Arnold Schwarzenegger will always be remembered as a titan, a builder, a force. But at 78, the most human part of his story is finally visible. A man learning, painfully, reluctantly, that even the strongest must eventually surrender control. And that surrender, for someone who built a life on domination of self and circumstance, is the hardest lift he has ever faced. And yet, as Arnold navigates the later chapters of his life, there's an undeniable truth he must face. The very thing that made him so invincible now makes him vulnerable. The mask of invincibility. For years, Arnold wore a mask that projected invulnerability. To the world, he was a fortress, solid and unyielding. He was the man who survived the harshest training regimens. The man who triumphed over the impossible in Hollywood action sequences. The man who won the ultimate prize in bodybuilding, not once but 7 times. But that mask, the one he crafted so meticulously, has cracked. Not because of failure, but because time has revealed a truth too painful to ignore. Beneath the physical feats and accolades lies a man who, like all of us, will ultimately face his own mortality. He can no longer rely on strength alone. No number of push-ups, no amount of dumbbell curls can stop time's progress. And that, for someone like Arnold, who built his identity on his body, is the hardest lesson. The weight of legacy. Perhaps the heaviest burden Arnold carries now is his own legacy. A legacy that once seemed like an eternal flame will now flicker and fade in ways he never imagined. While other athletes or entertainers slowly fade into obscurity, Arnold's legacy is immortalized in the minds of millions. And while that might sound like the dream of every celebrity, for him, it is a double-edged sword. Because no matter how hard he tries to stay relevant, to engage, to keep producing, the constant reminder of what he once was, the power, the youth, the influence, is always looming. For someone who rose so high, the fall from grace can never be just an ordinary descent. It becomes an agonizing recalibration of self. At this stage, the world remembers him for his achievements, but it's increasingly harder for him to achieve anything new. Every new endeavor is measured against the impossible standard of his past. No matter how much he wants to keep breaking barriers, there's a limit to how much he can do now, and accepting that is perhaps the most difficult aspect of growing older for him. The truth is his greatest strength, his indomitable will, cannot rewrite the fact that even legends are eventually forgotten by time. It's the eternal struggle between the man who wishes to move forward and the man whose body has already been through its prime. The struggles behind closed doors. Away from the cameras, away from the fans, Arnold's life is quieter, less defined by the spectacular feats that once filled headlines. The public spectacle of his fall doesn't compare to the private battle with himself that he endures every day. Physically, Arnold continues to struggle with his health. After his heart surgeries and the challenges of aging, he is no longer the man who could shrug off injury or fatigue. His body no longer obeys the way it once did. His knees ache. His back gives him trouble. The constant surgeries, the endless rehab, the struggle to get back to baseline. These are things he never prepared for in the early days when he was lifting weights in the gym, trying to break records and push past his limitations. And the truth is, those struggles are just as painful as any public defeat could be. But perhaps the most heartbreaking part of Arnold's aging process is not his body's decline, but the quiet isolation that comes with it. The loneliness that no amount of fame, fortune, or admiration can fill. He still has people around him, but there's something incredibly isolating about being a giant in a world that now sees you as fragile. The loss of relevance is a different kind of heartache. No longer does he walk into a room and have everyone stop to stare. He is now, in some ways, like a passing shadow. His legacy is still strong, but the present doesn't feel as powerful as it once did. The quiet strength of acceptance. Yet, for all the loss, for all the physical and emotional pain, Arnold has found a new form of strength. A quiet, almost imperceptible kind of strength that doesn't require domination, but instead acceptance. He's learned that he cannot defeat aging, nor should he try to. Instead of striving to remain the young, invincible superhero he once was, Arnold has embraced the more profound truth. He is human. He is not perfect, and he will never be the Arnold that the world remembers him to be. And somehow, despite the loss of his former self, that realization has given him peace. There's a moment when every legend must come to terms with their own obsolescence. When you've been larger than life for so long, the reality of becoming human again is the final challenge. Arnold Schwarzenegger is still fighting, but his battles are now with time and memory, not with his opponents or his fans. He's in the fight of accepting the man he has become rather than the man he once was. The final stage, legacy beyond strength. And so, Arnold enters the final stage of his life, not as the man who can lift the world, but as the one who teaches others how to live with the weight of a lifetime's worth of accomplishments. While he may never escape the shadow of his younger self, Arnold Schwarzenegger's true legacy may not be his bodybuilding records or his action films, but the way he chooses to handle this final chapter with grace, humility, and acceptance. Rather than trying to stay relevant in a world that is constantly moving forward, Arnold has come to embrace the slow passage of time. He is the example of what it means to live a full life, to reach the peaks of success, and to accept when it's time to step down. For many, this moment will come with regret, resistance, or defiance. For Arnold, it's come with something much rarer, peace. The truth of his life, the deep, complex tragedy, is not just the loss of youth or power. It's the realization that he was never meant to remain the same. The Arnold who conquered bodybuilding, Hollywood, and politics is no longer the Arnold we see today. But that's okay, because as his story unfolds, he shows us that we are all meant to change, to age, to adapt, and most importantly, to accept. Conclusion: legacy in the quiet moments. Arnold Schwarzenegger, now in his twilight years, has transcended the need to be larger than life. He's moved from striving for immortality to accepting his own humanity, a journey that is, in many ways, more powerful than any feat of strength he ever accomplished. As the world moves on, so does he. But unlike the bodybuilder he once was, Arnold's legacy will be measured not by how much he pushed himself to the limits of human capability, but by how he faced the inevitable end with courage and acceptance. And that, in its own quiet way, may be his most heroic act of all. As Arnold continues to face the passage of time, he has come to understand the true meaning of legacy. It is no longer about the accolades, the trophies, or even the role of a hero. It's about the ability to inspire in ways that transcend physicality. Throughout his life, Arnold has been defined by his strength. Whether it was building his body into a masterpiece or flexing his political muscles as the governor of California, everything he did was driven by an innate desire to dominate, to rise above the limits others placed on him. His mantra was simple: push past the pain, always go further, never stop. But in this phase of his life, the lesson he has learned, and continues to learn, is how to live with his limits. This does not mean accepting defeat. Rather, it means acknowledging the beauty in the fragility of life, the understanding that every victory eventually gives way to the quiet victories of aging and introspection. Embracing the new role, mentor and teacher. As Arnold transitions away from the spotlight of the silver screen and the demanding expectations of politics, he has begun to step into a new role, that of a mentor. He has become a guiding figure for the next generation of athletes, actors, and individuals who strive for success, but with the wisdom of someone who has seen it all. What does it mean to be truly successful? For Arnold, the answer is clear. It's no longer just about being the best or the biggest. It's about living fully, even when the outward signs of success begin to fade. In his later years, Arnold's approach to life has evolved from raw, relentless ambition to thoughtful reflection. He doesn't just talk about fitness in the way he used to. He speaks about mental health, the importance of taking care of one's mind and body as they age, and how to find peace in the quiet moments. He has become an advocate for what he calls the mind-muscle connection, not just in physical training, but in life. The concept is simple but profound. True strength comes not from the body alone, but from the mind's ability to adapt, accept, and persevere through the challenges that life inevitably throws at us. For someone who has built his life on the idea that strength can conquer all, this shift is a radical departure. Yet it is perhaps the most powerful lesson he can offer, that while the body may fail, the mind can continue to grow, evolve, and inspire long into the years that remain. Redefining success. In his private moments, Arnold has admitted that much of his past was driven by the desire to prove something, to show the world that he was capable of feats others deemed impossible. But as the years have worn on, he has come to redefine what success means to him. It is no longer about the next title, the next win, or even the applause of millions. Success, for Arnold now, is about peace with himself. This transformation is not sudden. It didn't happen overnight. It has been a long, slow process of reflection, pain, and acceptance. And while Arnold is still the force of nature he always was, the man who pushed his limits and demanded the same of those around him, the true victory lies in how he now sees himself, not through the eyes of others, but through his own. He's learned to find joy in the small moments, a walk in the park, a conversation with a friend, spending time with his children. He understands that these moments, once overlooked in the chase for greatness, are the ones that ultimately define a life well lived. A new legacy, one of wisdom and resilience. The Arnold Schwarzenegger we see today is not the same man who once dominated the bodybuilding stage or graced the big screen as the invincible Terminator. That version of him has receded into the background, leaving room for a new version of himself, one that is not defined by muscle, fame, or power, but by resilience. As he embraces his role as a mentor and speaker, Arnold shares his journey with others. He no longer focuses solely on the physical challenges that once defined his life. Instead, he speaks about how to face challenges with dignity and how to continue pursuing one's goals, even when the physical abilities that once made them possible begin to fade. In many ways, Arnold's true legacy will not be measured in gold medals or box office receipts. It will be found in the lives he has touched, the people he has inspired to keep going, even when it seems impossible. His story, one of overcoming immense odds, breaking boundaries, and achieving what others deemed unachievable, is now a story of transformation. A story of how one man learned that true strength isn't just about conquering the world. It's about conquering yourself, the courage to let go. For someone like Arnold, letting go has never been easy. He has spent his life grabbing for more success, more recognition, more achievement. But now, as the years have passed, the lesson has become clear. Sometimes letting go is the greatest form of strength. Arnold's decision to embrace his aging body, his changing role in the world, and his evolving sense of self is an act of profound courage. It requires more bravery than it ever did to stand on the stage and flex his muscles in front of the camera. It's the courage to accept that you cannot always control the narrative of your life, and that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to allow the story to unfold naturally, without resistance. This acceptance, this quiet strength, is the ultimate triumph for Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's the ultimate victory over time, and the ultimate lesson for us all. For no matter how great a legend may be, they too are human. And it is through that humanity that true greatness is revealed. Conclusion: a legacy of living fully. As Arnold enters the final stage of his life, his story is one of triumph, transformation, and, ultimately, peace. It is a reminder that strength is not just about what the body can endure, but about how the soul learns to navigate the inevitable journey of aging, loss, and change. Arnold Schwarzenegger may have conquered the world, but in his twilight years, he is learning to conquer the one thing even he could never control: time. And in doing so, he is teaching us all that the true measure of a life well lived is not in the accolades, but in the wisdom and resilience we gather along the way. As Arnold Schwarzenegger's journey unfolds, the final phase of his life represents a poignant contrast to the invincible force he once appeared to be. While his legacy is carved into the fabric of bodybuilding, cinema, and even politics, his most profound lessons now come from the ways in which he has adapted to life's most humbling challenges. The final act, the power of resilience over strength. Throughout his life, Arnold has been celebrated for his incredible physical prowess and his unmatched ability to push his body to extremes. He became a symbol of power, discipline, and self-mastery. But in his later years, his greatest strength has become something entirely different: resilience. Where once he sought to conquer the world with sheer force, Arnold has learned that the greatest victory is in embracing life as it is, rather than as he wants it to be. The journey from self-reliance to self-reflection has been one of the most profound shifts in his story. No longer does Arnold define himself by the number of trophies on his shelf or the accolades he has received. His identity is now rooted in the way he faces the inevitabilities of aging, with grace, acceptance, and a deep understanding of his limitations. Arnold's story is not just about climbing to the top. It's about what happens after the climb. How does a giant, who has scaled unimaginable heights, adapt when the world begins to shift beneath his feet? For Arnold, the answer is found in adapting with dignity. The true challenge, he has discovered, is learning how to live without the crutches of physical dominance and public recognition. He now chooses to be present, savoring the small, intimate moments that once seemed trivial in the face of his larger-than-life ambitions, becoming a voice for aging and mental health. In his later years, Arnold has become a vocal advocate for aging and mental health, recognizing the struggles that many people face as they grow older. He has opened up about the mental toll that comes with aging, especially for someone who has been celebrated for his physical prowess his entire life. This honesty has resonated with millions who see him not just as a superhero on screen, but as a real human being facing the same fears, insecurities, and challenges that come with getting older. Arnold now emphasizes the importance of mental strength, speaking candidly about how the mind must remain active and strong, even when the body begins to falter. He encourages people to prioritize their mental well-being, highlighting the value of connection and purpose rather than just physical fitness. He's also been a staunch advocate for reducing the stigma surrounding aging, especially in industries like Hollywood, where youth is often seen as an asset and aging can be perceived as a liability. Arnold has flipped this narrative, showing that there is wisdom, value, and power in growing older, that with age comes a deeper understanding of what truly matters in life. A reflection on fame and the price of perfection. As Arnold looks back on his remarkable career, he also reflects on the price of perfection. For most of his life, he was driven by the desire to become the best in bodybuilding, in movies, and in politics. Perfection was his goal, and in many ways, he achieved it. But as he grows older, he has come to realize that perfection is a trap. It's a pursuit that leaves little room for vulnerability or imperfection, qualities that are essential to living a full and meaningful life. Arnold now admits that his quest for perfection led him to miss out on certain aspects of life that he now cherishes. He recognizes that in his earlier years, he was so focused on winning and achieving that he neglected the quieter moments that truly define our happiness. As he enters the later years of his life, Arnold speaks openly about how imperfection has become a source of comfort, not shame. It's this acceptance of his flaws, his failures, and his limitations that has made him truly powerful in this new phase of his life. Arnold's story is no longer about the perfect body or the perfect image. It's about a man who has accepted his imperfections and found peace in the process. A true legacy of self-transformation. As Arnold moves through this new phase, his legacy is evolving. While his past achievements in bodybuilding, film, and politics will forever define him as a cultural icon, His most lasting legacy may very well be his capacity for self-transformation. He has lived through multiple reinventions, from the Austrian immigrant to the world's greatest bodybuilder, from Hollywood action star to California governor, and now, from the youthful icon of invincibility to the wise elder who teaches others how to live fully, even as the body fades. Arnold's life is no longer just about achievement. It's about embracing change. And through that process, he has shown us all that the true measure of greatness is not how much you accumulate, but how much you are willing to let go of in order to become the person you were always meant to be. Arnold Schwarzenegger has achieved what few others can: a complete transformation of self. He has moved beyond being defined by his past accomplishments and into a space where his worth is measured by his ability to adapt and grow, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. The final gift: inspiring others to live beyond strength. In these final years, Arnold has become a teacher, not just of strength, but of life itself. His greatest gift is not his muscle mass or his famous catchphrases, but the lessons he imparts about what it means to live fully, to age with grace, and to face the challenges of life with resilience. Arnold's journey has taught us that strength isn't just about the body. It's about the heart. It's about the mind. It's about finding meaning in every stage of life and embracing the impermanence that comes with it. He has shown us that while we may all be at the mercy of time, we are not defined by it. We are defined by how we live through it. Conclusion: a life well lived. As Arnold Schwarzenegger reflects on his life, he finds fulfillment not in his past triumphs, but in the way he has learned to navigate the complexities of aging, loss, and self-acceptance. The man who once seemed invincible has become a symbol of human resilience. His greatest strength is not his ability to conquer, but his ability to surrender to the changes that come with life and to embrace them fully. Arnold has become a living testament to the idea that real strength is found in how we respond to the inevitable challenges that life presents, and that true greatness comes not from the victories we achieve, but from the wisdom we gather along the way. This, in the end, may be the most powerful legacy of all. As Arnold enters the final years of his remarkable life, the focus of his legacy has shifted yet again. No longer bound by the public demands of fame, politics, or physical prowess, he has found a new mission, one rooted in passing on wisdom. Arnold has come to understand that the true value of a life well lived isn't in what you accomplish, but in what you leave behind. And it's not just about material achievements or accolades, but the way you inspire others to live their lives with authenticity and purpose. The new chapter: a legacy of mentorship. Mentorship has become Arnold's new purpose. While he no longer competes for titles, box office revenue, or political power, he now channels his efforts into guiding others through the challenges of life. Whether it's young athletes, entrepreneurs, or anyone seeking to transform their lives, Arnold's role as a mentor has become the center of his existence. Through his various initiatives, including the Arnold Sports Festival, his fitness programs, and his work with young people, Arnold is committed to passing the torch. He's not just teaching them how to build a stronger body, but how to build a stronger mind, one capable of weathering the storms of life. It's in these moments of connection, the heart-to-heart talks with young people who look up to him, that Arnold finds a deeper sense of fulfillment. But what he has realized is that the wisdom he shares with others is just as much a gift to himself. By teaching resilience, self-acceptance, and discipline, Arnold continues to reinforce these values in his own life. He's no longer just the student of strength. He's the teacher of strength, the strength that comes from inside, the strength that lies in how we adapt, overcome, and ultimately accept what life has to offer. Facing mortality, the ultimate test. As Arnold grows older, one of his most significant challenges has been facing his own mortality. While the world may have once viewed him as invincible, Arnold has come to realize that no one escapes the grasp of time. This knowledge, once uncomfortable, has become a source of peace for him. Rather than fearing the end, Arnold has chosen to embrace it as part of the natural cycle of life. He has learned to cherish every moment, not just the grand, heroic ones, but the quiet, everyday instances that make life rich and meaningful. Spending time with family, reconnecting with old friends, sharing meals. These are the moments Arnold now treasures most. And this is the true measure of his transformation. Arnold Schwarzenegger is no longer chasing fame, titles, or records. He's chasing connection, wisdom, and understanding. For someone who spent most of his life proving his strength to the world, this acceptance of his own fragility is perhaps the greatest triumph of all. He has learned that true strength isn't in defying mortality. It's in facing it head-on and continuing to live with intention. Finding peace in imperfection. One of the most beautiful aspects of Arnold's journey is his acceptance of imperfection. For so much of his life, perfection was the goal. Whether it was building the perfect physique or performing perfectly in films, he constantly strove for an ideal that could never be fully realized. But now, Arnold speaks openly about how he has learned to find peace in imperfection. It was not easy for him to let go of the need to be perfect. It's a difficult thing for anyone who has built their identity around achievement. But through years of reflection and experience, Arnold has come to understand that perfection is an illusion. What truly matters is the willingness to evolve, to grow, and to accept yourself, flaws and all. Arnold's journey towards self-acceptance hasn't been quick or easy, but has been deeply transformative. He no longer sees aging as something to fight against or deny. Instead, he embraces it as a part of his story, just as he embraced every other phase of his life. The heart of Arnold's legacy. As Arnold's life enters its twilight years, his heart, not just his muscles or mind, has become the center of his legacy. He no longer needs to prove his strength. His strength is now in his ability to love, to connect, and to share his story with others. His legacy is not just about his triumphs, but about the vulnerabilities he's embraced along the way. Arnold's story is one of transformation. From an immigrant who dreamed of conquering the world, to the muscle-bound icon who stood as a symbol of invincibility, to the politician who left a mark on California, Arnold has always reinvented himself. But now, he is reinventing what it means to live fully, not in the pursuit of more, but in the acceptance of what already is. He has proven that it's never too late to start over, to transform, to choose a new path. For Arnold, the real battle was never about how much he could lift or how many records he could break. It was about the courage to adapt when the world changed around him, to find peace when the body could no longer do what it once did, and to share that peace with others. Passing the torch, what Arnold wants the world to know. In his final years, Arnold's message to the world is simple yet profound. Live fully, accept yourself, and embrace the process of aging. Rather than focusing on what you can't change, Arnold advocates for focusing on the things that you can control: your mindset, your relationships, and your actions. The true measure of success, according to Arnold, is not in what the world gives you, but in how you respond to what life throws at you. It's not about the accolades or the awards. It's about how you continue to grow, how you continue to inspire, and how you continue to live with intention. And perhaps his most important lesson of all, you don't need to be perfect to be powerful. Conclusion: a life fully lived. Arnold Schwarzenegger's life has been marked by incredible achievements. But the most remarkable part of his story is not the heights he reached. It's the way he learned to live after those heights. His greatest strength has become his ability to adapt, accept, and inspire in ways that go far beyond the physical. Through his journey, Arnold has come to understand that a truly fulfilled life is not one lived in pursuit of perfection, but one lived in pursuit of authenticity. The man who once embodied immortality is now teaching us that the real strength lies in embracing life's impermanence. Arnold's legacy will not only be remembered for his muscles or his movies, but for the wisdom he imparts about living a life that is full, real, and true. In the end, Arnold Schwarzenegger's story is not just a testament to human strength, but but to human resilience, the ability to face every stage of life with courage, dignity, and an unshakable will to live authentically. And perhaps in that, we find the most powerful lesson of all. As Arnold Schwarzenegger continues to embrace the final stages of his extraordinary life, his evolving journey serves as a reminder to us all about the value of self-compassion and adaptability. It is a testament to the idea that while the physical aspects of life may fade, the emotional and psychological elements of living fully are what truly endure. The importance of self-compassion. For someone who has lived a life of monumental discipline, Arnold's recent reflections reveal a striking truth. Self-compassion is just as important as self-discipline. This revelation, although decades in the making, highlights a shift in his thinking. Arnold spent much of his early years pushing himself beyond his limits, never allowing himself to stop or question the need for perfection. But as time has gone on, he has come to recognize that allowing space for vulnerability, failure, and growth is a crucial part of the human experience. Where once he was unrelenting in his pursuit of success, whether in bodybuilding, acting, or politics, he now advocates for accepting life as it is, flaws and all. This doesn't mean giving up on striving for improvement. Rather, it means recognizing that failure is not the opposite of success. It's an integral part of it. Arnold has shared that, in his later years, he has learned to forgive himself, to let go of the mistakes he made, and to be kinder to the person who is looking back at him in the mirror. It's this self-compassion that has allowed him to face aging with grace. It is not a denial of the passage of time, but rather a full acknowledgement of it, along with the understanding that perfection is not a requirement to live a fulfilling life. The new meaning of legacy. Arnold's evolving perspective on legacy is perhaps the most significant shift of all. He has spent his life building a legacy that was largely defined by physical achievement, lifting weights, flexing muscles, achieving the impossible. But now, as his physical body begins to show the natural signs of age, Arnold's understanding of legacy has deepened. It is no longer about what the world remembers him for. It's about what he has taught others along the way. In interviews, Arnold has expressed that the legacy he values most is not the trophies or the box office hits, but the way he has inspired others to keep pushing forward despite the obstacles they face. He believes that the true power of a legacy lies in the ability to affect others positively, to instill in them the idea that they, too, can overcome their own limitations and rewrite their stories. Arnold now champions the idea that legacy is a living thing. It doesn't stop when you leave the public eye or when you've reached a certain age. It lives in the lives you've touched, the conversations you've had, and the lessons you've imparted. Through his advocacy for mental health, his work with youth, and his continued outreach, Arnold's legacy is living on in ways that transcend the physical and into the emotional and intellectual realms. The power of storytelling and authenticity. One of the most enduring elements of Arnold's appeal is his authenticity. From his early days in bodybuilding to his career in Hollywood and his tenure as governor of California, Arnold has always owned his narrative. He has never shied away from speaking about the challenges he's faced, from his struggles with English when he first arrived in America, to the scandals that rocked his political career, to the injuries and surgeries that have slowed him down in recent years. Arnold's openness about his journey, including his mistakes and vulnerabilities, has made him relatable to millions of people around the world. It is this authenticity that has endeared him to generations of fans and followers. He has taught us that being true to ourselves is not just a noble endeavor, but a powerful one. As he continues to share his story, Arnold stresses the importance of staying authentic to who you are, even when the world changes around you. He encourages people not to get caught up in trying to be perfect, but to embrace who they are, both the strengths and the flaws. For Arnold, this authenticity has become an essential part of his legacy. Not the muscle-bound man who once dominated Hollywood, but the real human being who continues to evolve, reflect, and grow. Fighting for what matters, a call to action. In his current phase of life, Arnold has turned his attention to causes that he believes will make a difference in the world. Through his advocacy for climate change action, his support of fitness and health initiatives, and his work with environmental sustainability, Arnold has shown that his legacy is not just about his personal achievements, but about leaving a positive impact on the world. He often speaks about the importance of fighting for causes that matter, especially as we grow older and begin to realize the responsibility we carry for the generations to come. For Arnold, this fight is deeply personal. Having achieved personal greatness, he now feels a responsibility to ensure that the world he leaves behind is one that is better for future generations. This call to action is a powerful part of Arnold's new purpose. He believes that we should all strive to leave the world in a better place than we found it, whether through community involvement, environmental awareness, or support for those in need. It's no longer about personal triumph. It's about collective progress. Conclusion: the true power of Arnold Schwarzenegger's journey. As Arnold Schwarzenegger reflects on his life, he stands as a testament to the idea that true strength is not about how much you can conquer, but how much you can grow through. From his early years as an ambitious immigrant bodybuilder to his rise as a global action hero and later as a political figure, Arnold has lived a life of reinvention. But perhaps the most inspiring chapter of all is the one he is writing now, a story of personal growth, reflection, and acceptance. Through all the accolades, triumphs, and struggles, Arnold has come to understand the most important lesson of all. It's not what you achieve, but how you choose to live your life that defines your legacy. His story is not just about physical power, but about the power of the mind, the heart, and the soul. In this final stage of his life, Arnold is teaching us that no matter how great the feats we accomplish, the true test of greatness lies in how we handle the inevitable challenges of life: aging, loss, imperfection, and the passage of time. Through it all, Arnold has found a way to live authentically, with resilience and grace, proving that even the strongest must eventually learn to surrender, and in surrender, find true peace. Arnold Schwarzenegger's journey is one that continues to inspire us all. He reminds us that life is not about perfection, but about embracing every stage with open arms, learning from the past, and facing the future with courage. And in the end, perhaps that is the greatest lesson of all. As Arnold Schwarzenegger looks back on his incredible journey, he has found a deep sense of satisfaction not just in the milestones he's achieved, but in the way his life has touched others. While he may not be the action hero or bodybuilding champion he once was, his legacy is more profound than any title or role he has ever held. In this final phase of his life, Arnold continues to influence and inspire, reminding us all that legacy is not defined by what we accomplish, but by how we impact the world around us. The evolution of a cultural icon. Arnold's cultural impact is undeniable. From his iconic role as the Terminator to his reign as the king of bodybuilding, Arnold has always been larger than life. But as he grows older, it's clear that his cultural significance has evolved. His public persona is no longer just about his physical feats or his on-screen stardom. It's about the values he represents. Arnold's journey through Hollywood, politics, and even philanthropy has been marked by personal reinvention. He wasn't content to remain static in any one role. He wasn't content to let his legacy be defined solely by his muscles or his catchphrases. Arnold continually sought new ways to impact the world, and his transformation from bodybuilder to actor to politician has shown us that it's not about where you start, but about how willing you are to adapt and evolve. In his later years, Arnold has embraced his role as a global ambassador for positive change, focusing on climate change, clean energy, and health and wellness. His advocacy for these issues has shown that the true measure of success is not about the material wealth or fame you accumulate, but the difference you make in the world. Philanthropy, the new frontier. As Arnold continues to reflect on his life, he is focused more and more on his philanthropic work. His efforts to address climate change, support at-risk youth, and promote sustainability have become central to his legacy. Arnold has consistently used his platform to raise awareness about the importance of protecting the environment and creating a better future for the next generation. Through initiatives like his work with the After School All-Stars program, which provides at-risk youth with mentorship, education, and extracurricular activities, Arnold has shown that he is deeply committed to giving back. This shift toward philanthropy highlights Arnold's ability to continually reinvent himself, not as a bodybuilder or an actor, but as a force for positive change. He encourages others to find their purpose in life, not by chasing after success and recognition, but by contributing to the greater good. In this way, Arnold's philanthropic efforts will likely stand as one of his most lasting contributions. His focus on giving back and helping others find success in their own lives shows that his true strength lies in his willingness to help others become stronger. Family, the heart of the journey. Throughout his career, Arnold's family has always played an important role in his life, even though his personal relationships, particularly with his ex-wife Maria Shriver, have been highly publicized. Despite the tumultuous periods, Arnold has always been open about his desire to be a good father and has spoken often about how fatherhood has been one of the greatest joys of his life. In recent years, he has found peace in his family relationships, and his children are central to his emotional world. Arnold now spends much of his time with his children and grandchildren, cherishing the moments with his loved ones that go beyond the spotlight. For him, these quiet, everyday moments are far more meaningful than anything the world can offer in terms of fame or recognition. In the past, Arnold may have prioritized his career over family, but in his later years, he has found that the true rewards of life are found not in what you achieve, but in who you share it with. His love for his children and his efforts to be a present and supportive father are part of the legacy he hopes to pass on to the next generation. Facing the end with wisdom, Arnold is now at a point in his life where he openly talks about the end, not as a point of despair, but as a natural progression. Unlike the invincible figure he once was, Arnold now shares his understanding that death is a part of life, and it is something we should embrace rather than fear. As someone who has spent so much of his life pushing beyond the physical limits of the human body, accepting that his body has its limits has been one of his most difficult but important lessons. However, Arnold has come to appreciate the wisdom that comes with aging. He often speaks about how, with age, comes a deeper understanding of what really matters, not fame or fortune, but relationships, love, and personal fulfillment. As he approaches the end of his life, Arnold has expressed that he has no regrets. His life, filled with accomplishments and mistakes alike, is a testament to the fact that living authentically is the most important thing you can do. And in his final years, Arnold has chosen to embrace life's impermanence with a sense of peace that few others achieve. The final legacy, a message for the world. Arnold Schwarzenegger's legacy will not just be one of muscles, movies, or political power. It will be a legacy defined by resilience, reinvention, and the courage to face the inevitable. As he steps away from the limelight, his message to the world is clear. Strength isn't just about how much you can lift or how much you can achieve. It's about how you handle the challenges of life with grace and authenticity. Arnold's journey has been marked by an unshakable belief in the power of transformation. And as he looks to the future, he hopes that his story serves as a reminder that we all have the ability to transform ourselves, no matter where we start in life, or how many times we have to reinvent ourselves along the way. In his final act, Arnold has shown the world that true power lies in how we live, how we adapt, and how we give back to the world around us. The Arnold Schwarzenegger we know today is not the same man who once ruled Hollywood or dominated bodybuilding. But in many ways, this new version of Arnold, one that faces the challenges of aging with dignity, compassion, and a deep understanding of life's fleeting nature, may just be his most inspiring form yet. Conclusion: a life beyond strength. Arnold Schwarzenegger's life has been one of incredible triumphs, but also significant personal growth. He has gone from being the embodiment of physical perfection to someone who values personal transformation, connection, and wisdom above all else. His greatest legacy is not the records he set, but the lessons he imparts. That strength is not just about muscle, but about resilience, vulnerability, and the courage to evolve. In the end, Arnold's story is a reminder that even the most indomitable forces must eventually evolve, and that true strength lies in how we choose to face life challenges. His journey teaches us that it's never too late to reinvent ourselves, and that, ultimately, the most powerful legacy we can leave is the impact we have on others and the way we choose to live, love, and grow.